can start with today's session. Let's start with prayers. You can all repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So today's topic is the second chapter of the Gita, contents of the Gita summarized. So last time we had covered till shlok number 28. So those who have come today for the first time for this series, I'll just briefly walk you through whatever we had covered last time. So Bhagavad Gita, it has 18 chapters. So it has been spoken by Sri Krishna in a very systematic manner. So these are the first 6 chapters, then the next 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. So the middle 6 chapters are known as the most confidential chapters, because to understand these chapters, like you'll have to know each and every chapter, the first 6 chapters very well. While the last 6 chapters are more or less like a summary, it will tell you the gist of the Bhagavad Gita. Then we talked about the disciplic succession. So basically Krishna gave this knowledge to Brahmaji, Brahmaji gave it to Naradji, Naradji gave it to Vyasmuni, Vyasmuni gave it to Madhvacharya, and through an unbroken line of disciplic succession we have got this knowledge. And at last it was Srila Prabhupada. And from Srila Prabhupada we are getting this knowledge. So in the second chapter, we saw that, so in the first chapter, Arjuna had a lot of questions. So he asked everything to Krishna, and Krishna is answering all these questions one by one. And because he is answering all these questions in a very short and summarized manner, this chapter is known as Contents of the Gita Summarized. So it is a summary of the entire Gita. So in short, if I say everything is given in the second chapter, but the thing is that the second chapter can be understood by someone like Arjuna, because Arjuna is very intelligent. So Krishna, if he says just one shlok to Arjuna, he can understand. But we are not so much intelligent. We might understand, we might not understand. We may in fact misrepresent what Krishna is saying. So that's the reason why all the subsequent chapters are there, from the 3rd to the 18th chapter. So in each of the remaining chapters of the Gita, every topic has been explained in detail. So say for example the 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is basically a kind of a Q&A between Krishna and Arjuna, where Arjuna is asking very specific questions about Karma Yoga and Krishna is answering these. 4th chapter is transcendental knowledge, 5th chapter is Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, 6th chapter is Dhyana Yoga. So like this, each and every chapter, it deals with a particular topic, and that's how the Gita has been structured. So now coming back to the second chapter, which is the contents of the Gita summarized. So this chapter has 72 verses, 72 shloks, out of which we had already covered 28 shloks. So I'll just briefly walk you through what are the gist of the 28 shloks which we covered last time. So Krishna, what he is telling Arjuna is that the doubts which you are having, that you are killing your relatives, you're killing your grandfather, you're killing your guru, all these doubts, whatever, these are like impurities. They should have not come into your mind, because you are a great devotee, a great personality. It doesn't befit you. So there are a lot of things which Krishna explains. So he talks about the soul, the eternal, immutable, indestructible soul. The soul is something like which cannot be destroyed by any kind of weapon. So Krishna talks about various kinds of weapons. Like he talks about fire weapons, he talks about water weapons, he talks about tornado weapons. So these weapons are not known to us, not known to modern science. But in those times, people had the power to manipulate the nature, to play with subtle energies. That's how they could play with water, play with wind, and generate those kind of weapons. But even those kind of advanced weapons are helpless in destroying the soul. So if I go to shlok number 28, which was the last one, which I covered. Yeah, so this is the last shlok. Let's continue from here today. So let's look at shlok number 29. This is again very important shlok. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So here Krishna is saying in a very short, concise manner how soul is and how people perceive it. Right? So, some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand it. So Srila Prabhupada says that there are 4 kinds of people, right? So I'll just give you a hint. So there are 4 ways to acquire, basically these 4 divisions are based on how we acquire knowledge. Does anyone have any idea who are these 4 kinds of people? How do they acquire knowledge? Sorry? Jigyasu. Yeah, that is correct, but I'm referring to something else relevant to this shlok. So here there are different perspectives given, right? Okay, so I'll tell you. So Srila Prabhupada says that there are 4 kinds of people. The most intelligent class of people will learn by hearing from experiences of others. So they will immediately realize just by hearing experiences of others, right? The second most intelligent kind of person will understand by looking or observing others, observing the behavior, observing the experiences of others. So let me repeat once again. The most intelligent kind of person will understand just by hearing from the experiences of others. Second most intelligent kind of person will learn by observing the behavior and the consequences of others. Right? Third most intelligent kind of person will learn by experiencing. So they might hear, they will not understand. They might observe also, they might see it also, but still they will not understand. But after experiencing, they will understand. Right? And the fourth class person is a person who, even after hearing from proper sources, even after observing those things, even after experiencing those things, still will not improve. We keep on doing the same mistake again and again and again and again. So Srila Prabhupada says that we should never be the 4th class of person. If we are 4th class, then there is no hope for us. So we all have done some mistakes in past. That is natural. But it's better that we learn from mistakes from others only by their experiences, if not directly from hearing from them, at least by looking at them. That is the second best. Third is that if we commit the mistake ourselves, then we learn from it. And the last thing is that even after committing the mistake, we are doing the same thing again and again. So we should never try to be the 4th kind of person. So this is very important from a Shastric point of view. We all have to be very much cognizant of that. Unfortunately, a lot of us belong to that 4th category in some of our habits. So we should all take this instruction very seriously. And best is we become the first time. So this Shravanam, what we are doing, we are reading from the scriptures, we are hearing from authorities. So someone who is most intelligent, just by reading the Bhagavad Gita, just by hearing about the Bhagavad Gita, they will realize it. Others will observe from others that this person has made this mistake and that is the consequence, and then the person will learn. Third class person would experience himself and then understand. Fourth class person will, even about experiencing, will not understand. So we should endeavor to be in the first two classes. In 2.30, O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. So let's understand the context of this verse. So Arjuna was grieving. He was feeling that if I kill my cousins, if I kill the Kauravas, if I kill grandfather Bhishma, if I kill Dronacharya, if I kill Kripacharya, I will get a lot of sins. But what Krishna is saying, that he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Who dwells in the body?
The soul.
Yeah. The soul, which is our real identity, can never be slain. Therefore, you did not grieve for any living being. Now again, just a disclaimer. You have to understand the context where this is happening. So Arjuna is fighting in a dharma yuddha, in a yuddha which is especially sanctioned by Krishna. And that is why Krishna is encouraging him to fight and kill the enemies. Such shlokas cannot be taken out of the context and used for justifying killing anyone. Right? So you have to understand the nature of the soul, the context in which the shlokas have been spoken, and take the meaning accordingly. 2.31. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for any hesitation. So let's concentrate on the word Kshatriya. Does anyone know the meaning of the word Kshatriya?
Warriors.
Yeah, warriors definitely, but sorry?
Warrior by profession.
Yeah, they are warriors definitely, but yeah. So shat, the word shat as per Sanskrit, it means to hurt or to harass someone. Shat means to hurt someone. Okay, and Triya means to give protection. So Kshatriya is a person who gives protection from any kind of harm, any kind of harassment from others. So the duty of a Kshatriya is supposed to protect his subjects from unnecessary harassment, from plunderers, from dacoits, from rakshasas, from asuras. That is the duty of a Kshatriya. So that is why Krishna is advising Arjuna that considering your duty as a Kshatriya, you should rather fight rather than not fighting. There should not be any hesitation for not fighting, because you are a Kshatriya, it's your duty, it's your dharma. O Parth. Okay, so does anyone know the meaning of Parth? Why is Arjuna addressed as Parth? Sorry? Yeah, so Kunti's birth name was Pritha, and the son of Pritha is called Parth. That is why Arjuna is the son of Pritha, another name for Kunti. That's why he is addressed as Parth many times in the Bhagavad Gita. So again, why is Krishna calling him by that particular name, O Parth? Because he wants to remind Arjuna about his exalted lineage. So Arjuna has a very, very good lineage from both his father's side and from his mother's side. Belongs to a very exalted family. So that's the reason why these kind of names are being addressed. Right? So, O Parth, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. So there are a lot of heavenly planets or heavenly grahas as they are called. So examples are Indralok, and Janalok, Tapolok, Brahmalok. So in this material world, the highest heavenly planet is Brahmalok, where Lord Brahma personally resides. So in the Vedas, there are lot of sacrifices given, lot of procedures given, that if anyone wants to elevate himself to the heavenly planets, they have to follow this and this sacrifice, this and this ritual they have to do, this and this custom they have to do. They have to give so much of charity, follow these vows. So it's not easy, to be honest, to elevate ourselves to the heavenly planets. But Kshatriyas are really fortunate in this regard. Why? Because for a Kshatriya, the moment they get a fighting opportunity, the moment they get an opportunity to fight in a proper dharmic battle, they are opening the doors to the heavenly planet. Why? Because if they give their body, if they die in a proper dharmic war, they will immediately attain the heavenly planets, which are not easy to attain. So Krishna is saying this, that happy are the Kshatriyas who such fighting opportunities come unsought. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. So Krishna is doing a kind of an analysis that we have a lot of simulation analysis, that if you do this case A, then this is the output, case B, then this, case C, then this. So Krishna is presenting everything in a very systematic manner, kind of a scenario analysis, that if you fight, then this will happen. So what are the different scenarios possible? If Arjuna fights, right? If he wins, then he will enjoy the earthly kingdom. He will become the ruler of the earth. That is one case. Another case, if he fights and he dies, then he goes to heaven. He gets all the heavenly planets. So both are good scenarios. Then he is saying that if you do not fight, then what will happen? So if he doesn't fight, then he will incur sins. He will be acting on the path of adharma. Why? Because this duty of Kshatriya is to fight, and not just fight for any reason, for a dharmic reason. And you will also lose your reputation as a fighter. Why is Arjuna so famous? What is his main qualification as a fighter? Yeah, he was the greatest archer ever, right? So he was world famous as the greatest archer ever born. And all the Kshatriyas, Kauravas, Pandavas, even the demigods in the heaven, even the Gandharvas, all used to respect Arjuna because of this quality. And he will lose his reputation if he runs away from the battlefield. So he is saying that if you do not fight, there is only loss, there is no gain for you. And 2.34, people will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So this is important. So any person who is truly great will always try to protect his or her reputation, because building one's reputation is very difficult. But to lose it, do one small thing, you will immediately lose all your reputation. So the reputation or the name which a person has, that is really important, and that is the most valuable asset which anyone has, right? So, like, how many of you have read, have some knowledge of finance? Yeah. So every company has a brand equity. You know that. So similar to a company, like we also have a brand equity, right? People know us for certain qualities, and that is actually our most valuable asset, most valuable material asset, I would say. So it's very important to protect that. And for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So somebody who is as respectable as Arjun, for him dishonor is worse than death. So if he does something which is bringing him disrepute or dishonor, that is worse than death. It's better to die rather than being dishonored. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battle out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. So who are the great generals on the Kaurava side? Dronacharya. Sorry? Kripacharya. Bhishma. Karna. Ashwatthama. Yeah, so there were a lot. Shalya. And if you see the list, it was endless. Shakuni and all. So all these are great generals. So though they were on the enemy side, they had a lot of respect for Arjun, right? They just by listening Arjun's name. So if you read Mahabharata, when the Kauravas had attacked the kingdom of Virat Naresh, that is Matsya kingdom. The moment they heard that Arjuna is on the opposite side, they stopped fighting or carrying away the cows. So that was the reputation which Arjun had. But just by hearing the name of Arjun, they immediately stopped and started re-evaluating their plans. That what should we do? Arjuna is coming. Should we fight with him or not? So that was the kind of name which Arjun had. And if he fled from the battle right now, he will lose all his reputation, all his name. And they will consider you to be insignificant. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? So like it said, that words cut you sharper than sword, right? So words are the most, you can say, like the most potent weapon which you have. Like using words you can inspire others also. Using words you can cut someone also. So if somebody is unnecessarily criticizing a person, you have seen so many material examples. People have fallen down from their position just because somebody has criticized them, right? So what could be more painful for you? So that's what he's asking Arjun. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battle and attain heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore get up with determination and fight. So here Krishna has done that scenario analysis for Arjun, that if you fight, then this will happen. If you are killed, then you will gain heavenly planets. If you win, then you will enjoy the earthly planet. On the other hand, if you don't fight, you have only reasons to grieve. There is no profit or any kind of good result what you will get. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Now, this is very important shlok, right? Very important to understand this, because if you understand this, we understand the gist of the Bhagavad Gita. And at the same time, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about this shlok also. So let's read it. Second chapter, 38 verse. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by doing, you shall never incur sin. So normally when you go outside, people, if you try to tell them about Bhagavad Gita, they will just say one thing. Can anyone say what is it in the Gita? Even without reading Gita, they will quote something which is very similar to this shlok. कर्म फल का चिंता मत करो, कर्म करते रहो, right? Which is true in under certain conditions. Okay. So say for example, somebody has a business of selling cigarettes. You will say that I'm doing my karma, I'm selling cigarettes, that's my business. Let me continue doing it. I'll not worry. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that karma phal ka chinta mat karo, wo karte rehte. So is it correct or not?
No.
Why is it not correct?
It is injurious to health.
Yeah, it is injurious, but in the context of Gita. Sorry?
Everything that is done in Krishna consciousness is right? So that I don't think is good.
Okay, so I'll just go to the fourth chapter of Gita. So in the fourth chapter of Gita, Krishna explains about karma. Okay, so there are three types of karma. There is karma, akarma, and vikarma. So let's try to understand it in very short. Again, it's not so easy to understand, but I'll just explain it short. So karma is any activity which has been sanctioned by scriptures. Now you do something as per the regulations given in the scripture. That is called karma. So it is any activity which gives you a favorable result. Vikarma is any activity which has not been sanctioned by the scripture. So if you do a vikarma, you will get an unfavorable result. And akarma is any activity which you are doing for Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. So such kind of activity doesn't produce any result. Whatever results are there are absorbed by Krishna. Right? So this statement is valid for karma and akarma. do the fighting for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress. So whatever people outside say that karma ka phal ka chinta mat karo, karma karte raho, that is true, but that is true only for those activities that are sanctioned by Krishna or in the scriptures. So it's very important, and we need to understand this slope very carefully, and then only. Yeah.
Then what about the fisherman community? Will you have to wipe them out?
Sorry?
The fisherman community.
Fisherman community. Okay.
Then they will not exist at all.
Yeah, so there are a lot of trades like in the world, fishermen, slaughterhouses, cigarette business, alcohol business and all, which ideally shouldn't have been there, but unfortunately they are growing
No,
because
this community, fisherman
Yeah.
community, it has been there since very.
yeah, it is there. So
But Prabhuji,
even
they
in
are
such
doing it to sustain.
yeah, I
their
understand.
family.
I understand. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that in Satyayug also, it's not that alcohol was not there or prostitution was not there. All the vices which we see right now, it was there in the previous yugas also. But the magnitude has increased a lot in Kali Yuga. And regarding the livelihood, it's true they are doing it for livelihood, but it's not that that is their only means of sustenance. If they really want to change it, they will get away. But the thing is that they don't want to change. I'll give you an example. I hope all of you have heard about Valmiki, right? So Valmiki Muni, who he was before he became a rishi?
Okay.
He was
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So he was a dacoit, right? So he used to kill people, loot everything. Then one day Narad Muni came and he said, "Why are you doing all these things?" So he said that I am doing this for my family because this is my only mean of sustenance. Otherwise, how can I feed my family? I don't know anything else. This is what has been my family profession: looting others, killing others. So that's what I do. So then Narad Muni said that, do you have any idea of how much sins you are accumulating? You are doing this for your family. Do you think that your family will also take a share of your sin, or are they willing to take the share of your sin? So then Valmiki said, yes, my family loves me a lot. I love them a lot. They also love me a lot. Surely they will take part of my sins, right? So Narad Muni said, okay, you go and ask them once. So he went to his wife and he told him that I am doing so much of sins for you only. I love you so much. So are you willing to take half of my sins? His wife immediately said, see, you are the husband. It's your duty to feed us. Now you are not able to feed us, that's why you are doing all the sinful activities. So don't make me a part of this. It's your duty to feed me. I don't care how you do it. Whatever you do, you are only responsible. So he felt very broken hearted. He went to his children. He said the same thing, that my dear children, I am doing so much of sinful activities for you. Are you willing to take some part of my sin? His kids also surprisingly told the same thing, that you are a father. It's your responsibility, right, to feed us. And we don't care how you are getting. Whatever you do, you are only responsible. So similarly, any other profession, whether it's fisherman, whether it's alcohol business, cigarette business, it's only there in our mind that it's something which is the only thing which I can do. If we really desire to improve ourselves, we will find a way. Krishna will help us. So that's it. That's the thing. So we have to know what is good, what is not good, and we have to plan our life accordingly. If we really desire it, Krishna will show you the way. So there is no one answer to it, but the thing is that we cannot give an excuse that I have to feed my family. That's why I am in this profession.
Prabhuji, there is
Yeah.
a question. It might sound a little frivolous, but
Yeah.
it's related to the fish only.
Yeah.
I mean, is it considered to be a less sinful thing to to consume fish or
Okay.
to hunt for fishing? Because even some of the most revered sages from our country, they did have fish, like Raman Maharshi and Swami Vivekananda used to have
Okay.
fish. So I mean.
Okay. So I'll just tell you one thing. Eating any kind of meat, like fish, meat, or anything, is sinful. Now there is no point of speculating whether something is more sinful or less sinful. Right? It is sinful. So of course, in that sense, you can say that eating cow meat is much more sinful than eating fish meat. But again, like for someone who really wants to get out of the cycle of birth and death, eating any kind of meat or supporting any kind of business related to meat is highly sinful. It will impede our progress towards Krishna, towards the spiritual world.
Consuming one drop of poison and the entire bottle of poison.
Yeah. So it's like that. Yeah. And regarding sages and also, I won't take the names of any modern contemporary sages or anyone, but I would say from a Vedic perspective, all the sages, they used to follow the Brahmanical standards very strongly. So as per Brahmanical standards, we are supposed to consume only sattvic food. So there are three modes of material nature: Sattva gun, Rajagun and Tamagun, right? So similarly, foods are also classified as Sattva gun or Rajoguni and Tamaguni. So all the sages, all the Brahmanas, they used to consume only Sattva guni food, which completely excludes any kind of non-vegetarian food. So yeah, that's the answer. If you have anything, we can discuss. Okay. Now coming to 2.39. Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. So all of you agree that whatever arguments Krishna gave, those were like analytical in nature, right? If you say such things to modern people, those who are highly educated, even they will understand all this kind of scenario analysis. So now he's saying, now listen and explain to you in terms of working without fruitive results. So here Krishna is talking about akarma. Akarma is any kind of karma which is done for Krishna, and it doesn't have any kind of result. It has a result, but we will not get the karmic reaction. O son of Prita, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So here he's just giving some hints. So later on in the 4th chapter, we will explain in detail. So he's talking about the Karma Yoga chapter and transcendental knowledge. How do we work in Krishna consciousness that we get out from this cycle of birth and death. So just to give a brief, right? Normally people think that doing good karma nullifies bad karma, right? So there are a lot of businessmen who will cheat in their business dealings. So when I say cheating, they will totally cheat, like I don't know, 200, 300, 500% profit. So there is some margin which is allowable for businessmen, definitely. But if they are like completely cheating someone, then it's not allowable. So they will get karmic reaction for that. And at the same time, they think that if I do some donation here and there, if I do some puja, then it will counteract my bad karma. But that is not how karma works. The way karma works is that if you do anything wrong, you will get a reaction for that. And if you do something good, you will get a reaction for that also. So it never cancels each other. So +1 and -1 will not cancel each other. You will get the effect of -1, you will get the effect of +1. So both things will happen once we do it. So when it will happen, we don't know. It might, if I do some karma today, the reaction I may get in minutes, I may get in hours, I may get next day, after a week, after a lifetime, after 40, 50 lifetimes, that is also possible. But we will get for sure. So that is a more interesting topic. So maybe later we can discuss that in detail. So in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So Krishna is talking about Krishna consciousness. So all these activities, whatever we are doing, like we are coming, we are taking darshan of the Lord, we are hearing kirtan, we are sitting in lectures, we are reading Bhagavad Gita, we are hearing about the Bhagavad Gita. So all these activities are said to be activities in Krishna consciousness. So what is he saying? In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. I said, even if we do 1%, that 1% remains as a permanent credit for us. All other activities, no matter how much rich you become in this lifetime, the moment you take another body, you start from scratch. Right? But Krishna consciousness is not like that. Even if you do 1% in this lifetime, next lifetime that 1% will be there. You will start from 2%. And in this regard, in this endeavor, like there is no loss or diminution. There is a very good example which is given in the Bhagavata about a very famous devotee. Does anyone know or would like to guess? There is a very famous example given in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. There is a very famous devotee who benefited. Like this slok refers to him specifically.
Regards to?
Sorry?
Regards against?
So if you do even little bit of bhakti, it will come handy for you when you are in the greatest danger. So there are a lot of examples in the scriptures. There is one very important example. Draupadi is also good. Okay, I'll give you an example. Yeah, Parikshit Maharaj is also good example.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj is also.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah. But if you come to temple, right? So in the temple, in our temple, there are a lot of mannequins given, right? Different statues of different pastimes. So as you are coming towards the bookstore, you will find one devotee who is being dragged by Yamaraj. Does anyone know who is it? Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. So the name of the devotee is Ajamil.
Yeah.
Ajamil. So I'll just
Narayan.
yeah. So I'll just describe the pastime of Ajamil in short, so that all of you are aware. So Ajamil was a very pure Brahmana. So till the age of 20, he used to practice bhakti very nicely, like in a very systematic manner. He was born in a Brahmana family, in a Vaishnava family. His father taught him to worship Narayan very nicely. He was performing all his duties well. He got married to a very beautiful wife who was very religious, very obedient to him, and thus his life was going on very well. One day what happened is his father told him to go and collect some flowers for daily worship, whatever the Brahmanas do from the forest, right? So he went to the forest, and as he was returning after collecting all the flowers, he saw that there was a low-class person, very low-class person, and he was shamelessly embracing a prostitute. Now, Ajamil, he was a very pure Brahman, and in those days, like nobody had seen a scene like that. Of course, nowadays, like such scenes are seen everywhere in movies and all, but for him, it was like a big shock, right? And when he saw that, and he saw the prostitute and the low-class person, immediately he started having a lot of bad thoughts of possessing that prostitute. So when he came back home, like of course he was learned in scriptures, he tried to control his mind. He understood that he already has a wife, he should be faithful to her. As per scriptures, like we cannot look at any other woman other than wife. He tried a lot, but the force of lust which was there within his heart, it was so strong that it overpowered him. And he got the prostitute as a maid servant in his house as an excuse, and then he started having a relationship with the prostitute. Of course, his parents, his wife, they were not happy. They started protesting. But Ajamila became such an animal in this way of lust that he threw out his parents, he threw out his wife from the house, and he married that prostitute and started living with her. So in Vedic times, such incident was like unimaginable, a Brahmana marrying a prostitute. And he started doing a lot of sinful activities with her. And he lost all his Brahminical qualities, started drinking, he became a dacoit, he started looting people for his livelihood. And he became a drinker. And he had a lot of children also from the prostitute. And his youngest child, he gave a name. What was the name? Narayan. Yeah. So because he was somehow a Brahmana, he still had that qualities. He somehow named his youngest son as Narayan. Now what happened is that when he was 88 years old, so the time of his death approached. So at the time of his death, the Yamadutas came. Yamadutas are messengers of Yamraj. So So they come specifically to take the souls of sinful people. And they were snatching the soul of Ajamil from his body. When they were snatching it, then Ajamila suddenly saw his son playing, small child playing over there. And he started calling out to him, Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. He started calling out to him. Now if you read the Bhagavad Gita, right, whatever state of mind one is at the time of death, that state he attains without fail. Right. So whatever Krishna consciousness we are doing because at the time of death we can remember the Lord. We can take the name of the Lord. And thus we can go back to Him. In this case, Ajamila was very fortunate. He was not even thinking about the Lord. He was thinking about his own son. But because he had given his son the name of Lord, he called out Narayan. And immediately the Vishnu Dutas came. Vishnu Dutas are the servants of Lord Vishnu. They came and immediately freed him from the clutches of Yamdutas. And he was given a second chance. So in our bookstore there is a very beautiful book which is named Second Chance, which describes this pastime in detail, very detailed. Right? It has been commented by Srila Prabhupada. And this incident is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So from this example we understand that somebody who has done even a little bhakti. So because Ajamila had done some bhakti during his young age, he was inspired to name his son as Narayan. And because he had named his son as Narayan, he was able to chant the name of the Lord at the time of death, and he escaped the clutches of Yamraj. And he was given a second chance to improve himself. And of course he grabbed the second chance and he left all the sinful activities and he became a devotee again, and then went back home, back to Godhead, to Vaikuntha. So this is how doing even a little bit of bhakti. So we may not understand the importance of coming to temple or taking prasad or listening of the Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavad Gita, but even little bit whatever you read here and there, it can come in handy at any time. So does anyone have any experience of such kind of thing where you have read something and it has helped you at the time when you're like when you were in hardship or you were facing some kind of trouble, it has helped you? Can anyone share? ऐसा आपको लग रहा है, but धीरे धीरे आएगा.
There are too many sinful activities in store. It will take a lot of work.
Yeah. So I'll just give you an example from my life only. So all of you have heard about His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj?
Yes.
Yeah. So Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he was born in US and he was searching for God, right? So he went to almost all the different continents. He went to Europe, from Europe he came to Asia, he went to Greece, he went to like Iran, Iraq, Pakistan. At last he came to India searching for God. And then after coming to India, he stayed in all the different places. Like he went to the Himalayas, he went to Rishikesh, he went to South India, he went to West Bengal. A lot of places he went, and at last he came to Krishna and surrendered to Krishna. So he has described his entire journey in a book known as Journey Home. So I will request all of you to read that book if possible. It's a very beautiful journey of how a boy who was born in US was searching for God. He searched Him everywhere and then came here and found Krishna at last. So as I was reading his book, so I saw one pastime where he was about to drown in Ganga. So he had gone to Rishikesh, and in Rishikesh the waters were, if you see, go to Ganga over there, like the waters flow very, very furiously over there. So if you get caught in those waters, it's very difficult to get out. So he was trying a lot to get out from those waters. But then one fisherman came and he signaled him that you are actually swimming in the wrong direction. You swim in that. And he just pointed him out. So then Radhanath Swami Maharaj realized that actually he was trying to swim upstream. So the river flows in this direction. If you are trying to go upstream, no matter how much good swimmer you are, you will never be able to go upstream. You will drown 100%. But if you go along with the direction of water, then swimming becomes easier. Then you can like steer yourself and go to the destination wherever you want. So very similar thing happened with me also. So I was also drowning in Ganga once in West Bengal, and suddenly I realized that I am also going upstream from this example only, and I changed my direction and went downstream. So I started floating on Ganga and reached the shore. So in my case also it has helped me. So we don't know when these things will come handy. It's good to be in association of devotees, to read about devotees, to hear from them. And these experiences can come handy anytime. We never know. So we should always be very open-minded.
In your case, Prabhuji, was it your own intuition or somebody
No,
like?
nobody. I remembered this statement of Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So I read that book 2 years prior, and I remembered him that he also faced the same problem. And then I thought that, am I doing the same mistake or not? So I also realized that I am going upstream actually. So I started floating and went downstream, and so I got saved. So that was an interesting incident in my life.
ऐसे तो बहुत सारे इंसिडेंट्स रहते हैं प्रभु जी, बट याद नहीं रहता कि क्योंकि कोई भी प्रॉब्लम में कोई ना कोई तो भगवान के रूप में आता है जो हमको सेव करता है, बट ही कांट अंडरस्टूड के ही इज देयर.
Yeah, that's true. Lot of times we get the mercy of Lord, or we get the mercy of the devotees, but somehow we are not able to recognize it. Yeah. So
we don't acknowledge it.
yeah, we don't acknowledge also. So that is not good actually. So the only thing is that we have to increase our knowledge. So if we read the scriptures, then only we are able to understand whether it is a mercy or not, or whether it's just any random thing which is happening. So it's lack of knowledge, lack of association. That's the reason why we are not able to understand. Okay. So now coming back to the shlok, second chapter, 41st. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So a lot of motivation speakers, they actually take shlokas from Bhagavad Gita only. Some of them give the attribution also, but some of them they don't attribute it. So a lot of Western people, they will take the same shlok, they will repackage it and say that it's my advice. So a lot of consulting companies like McKinsey, Bain and all, they will use the same principles. They will create a very fancy looking chart, PPT, and then charge a bomb to the companies. So I'm sure those who are worked in corporate will know that. So again, it's very simple, right? Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose. So if you have one purpose, it's very easy to accomplish that. But for someone whose intelligence is irresolute, like it's thinking like I'll do this also, I'll do that also, I'll be this also, that also. So then nothing will happen. So it's a very basic principle which has been explained by Krishna, but it's really important. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Okay, so does anyone know why Lord Buddha had incarnated?
Because there are too many animal things happening that way.
Yeah.
Because the animals were being out of Vedas, the rules and regulations were being misused for animals, and they were hurting the animals. Protecting the animals, Buddha came.
Yeah. So absolutely. So in the Vedas, there are a lot of sacrifices given. That if you want this, you perform this sacrifice. So there are some provisions of animal sacrifice also given in the Vedas, right? But the aim of these sacrifices is not to encourage animal killing or to encourage meat eating or anything. The reason those sacrifices are given is because, like as Prabhuji pointed out, there are some people who are fishermen or some people who are tribals. So for such people to become completely non-violent, completely vegetarian may not be possible. So for such people, so basically the Vedas are such that they are all inclusive in nature. Like they will first of all give you the highest standard. That the highest standard is to follow Sattva Gun, complete non-violence and everything, right? In case if you are not able to do that, then second best is this. If you are not able to do that, third best is this. So it's a very inclusive kind of a philosophy. So for those who cannot or may not be able to follow complete sattvic like lifestyle, for them there have been given some concessions that rather than you eating meat every day, what you can do is maybe once a month you offer a sacrifice to goddess Bhadrakali, offer a lamb to her or a goat to her, and take the so-called whatever portion. Some portion you have to donate, some portion you have to take, and you can take that. So the reason why those provisions are given is to regulate meat consumption. So the Vedas never wanted slaughterhouses to function like unlike today. So there are so many slaughterhouses, thousands of animals are getting killed today. So such a thing should not happen. That's the reason why such kind of provisions are given. That instead of eating every day, maybe you eat once a month, and that also under a lot of restrictions. So the one interesting thing about this, like even in Islam, like if you see halal meat, right? So if you see the way you have to kill an animal, right? So it is said that you have to chop, like you have to drain the animal of the entire blood, and then only you can consume the meat. The reason why this thing is said is because it is expected that when you see the animal suffering, then you will automatically have compassion for that animal and you will stop eating altogether. That is the expectation. But because the religion was preached in a region where people were not very civilized, it was preached in Saudi Arabia where people used to kill humans also. There was no conception of, like you can imagine, like in their religion it was mentioned that you cannot have sexual relationship with your mother. So that is something which is like we don't need to say this, right? That is understood in our country. But there you have to say this practically. So you can understand what kind of people were there. So such people cannot be taught about Vedic standards or Sattva Gun or anything like that, right? So that's why the religion was modified and made in such a way that such people may be elevated to a level where they can become little bit human, right? So like this, in Vedas also there are some sacrifices given. But unfortunately people who are not very intelligent, who have small knowledge, they consider this to be the ultimate thing. And they will say that no, this has been written in the Vedas, so this is correct. So they will start cherry picking. They will say that no, this part is correct, here it is written that you can eat meat. That's why wherever, so what they will say is that wherever it's written that you cannot eat meat, those things have been written by Brahmanas or they have been modified by someone, they will come with all kind of explanation. But Vaishnavas are not like that. The Vaishnavas will never take some part and reject something. They will take the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. They will never reject some part. If some apparent contradiction has been given, it has been given for some reason. So there is a reason behind that. They will try to understand that and they will explain that. So being desire of sense gratification, opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than that. So this is a symptom of someone who is not intelligent. They feel that these kind of sacrifices are all in all. So they will just follow like whatever is given without understanding what it is for. So we should not be like that. So this is the last slok which we will cover today. 2.44. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So here it's clearly written that anyone who is not so intelligent, who thinks that whatever these things are written in Vedas, this is the ultimate thing, and they think that I'll cherry pick the Vedas, I'll take this, I will not take that. So such people, the determination for devotional service will never happen. They will never attain the love for Krishna, the love for Godhead, and they will never get free from the cycle of birth and death. Okay. So yeah, so that's it for today. So today we have covered from 29 to 44 sloka. So there are 72 slokas in this chapter, which we will cover next time. If anyone has any questions or would like to have a more detailed discussion of any of these points, then we can have it right now. Okay. Okay, so if there are no questions, I have a couple of announcements.
प्रभु जी
Yes, Prabhu?
ये जो बैठे हैं वो है कौन ब्रह्मा जी क्या?
यहाँ पे?
हाँ जो बैठे हैं
I'm not sure actually. मतलब मुझे देखना पड़ेगा. With this photo has been taken from a template. मतलब ये मैंने नहीं डाला है. So I'm not sure. Some devotee definitely. This is Krishna. This is some devotee.
अच्छा वो कौन है?
Yeah.
थैंक यू सर.
Probably there is a question as far as Dharma Yuddha is concerned. In today's world or in personal life, how to dictate which would be Dharma Yuddha and where what kind of action has to be taken.
Okay. Okay.
Also
So.
by that slokas and chapters been given.
Okay. So the question of Prabhuji is that in today's context, how do we understand whether if there is a war, whether it's a Dharma Yuddha or not, right? Is that a question?
Not only war, I mean, when some take action, the way Arjuna has taken and instructed by God.
Okay.
So where to draw the line?
Okay, got it. So one thing is that, see, Arjuna is a Kshatriya, right? So he has been given instructions to fight as per Kshatriya. So wherever Krishna said that you should fight, you should not hesitate to kill others. So for us, the takeaway is that we have to understand we are the soul. That doesn't mean that we have the sanction or we have the permission to go and kill someone if we don't like someone or somebody is troubling us, then we can go and kill them. We don't have that sanction. Arjuna had that. But we have to focus on the takeaways from each and every sloka and try to apply that in our life. Now coming to what we can apply, what we cannot apply, right? All these things vary from person to person and depends on the current situation where you are, right? So there is no generic answer for that. The only answer which I can give is that you have to take guidance from an experienced devotee regarding whatever actions you have. So you have to do everything by taking shelter of Guru Maharaj or by taking shelter of an experienced devotee. So that's how you will understand how to apply Bhagavad Gita in real life. All these slokas are practically applicable. So we read the purports. Prabhupada ji gives very elaborate purports of how we can apply these slokas in our life. Okay. So we have an announcement, right? So we are planning a weekend trip to Nashik and Trambakeshwar. Does anyone know where is Trambakeshwar or has anyone been to Trambakeshwar? Yeah. So would anyone like to describe that experience? Whatever. Yeah.
शिवजी का वहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा स्थान है जो 12 ज्योतिर्लिंग है.
Yes.
उसमें का एक ज्योतिर्लिंग वहाँ पे.
So जो 12 ज्योतिर्लिंग है, right? उसमें से एक ज्योतिर्लिंग is at Trambakeshwar. Then people might have a basic question that supposedly in ISKCON, like we worship Krishna, then why are we going to a Shiva temple, right? The reason is because if we want to approach Krishna, we should try to approach Krishna through his devotee. And who is the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna?
Shiva.
Yeah, is Lord Shiva. He's the greatest. No, he's Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. So last Saturday, on the auspicious occasion of Shivaratri, we had a session on Lord Shiva. So it's important to take shelter of devotees of Lord also. So that's the reason why we have planned this yatra to Trambakeshwar. And at the same time, we are going to Nasik also. So Nasik, a lot of you may not be aware, but Nasik is a very, very holy place, right? So I'll just give you some hints. Panchavati. Does anyone know what is the significance of Panchavati?
They have stayed that.
Okay, one at a time maybe. Anyone can raise your hand. Say.
वहाँ पे 5 वॉर्ड है पंचवटी वटी मीन्स जो झाड़ है तो उसने उनका नाम पंचवटी पड़ा है बट वेयर इट इज दैट I don't know in the Nasik in Panchavati that
It's near to Nasik.
Yeah.
So Panchavati is a place where Lord Ram stayed in the later part of his exile, right? So Lord Ram was in exile for 14 years. So in the later part of his exile, he was at Panchavati. So Panchavati is a very beautiful place for practicing spiritual life. It is full of greenery, natural resources and everything. And it is here where Shurpanaka had come, if you remember.
Yeah.
Shurpanaka had come and she wanted to marry Ram or Lakshman. And Lakshman had cut off the nose and the ears of Shurpanaka, and that led to the kidnapping of Sita and the later war. So Panchavati is a very beautiful place. We will be visiting that. Then there is a very famous Shiv temple called the Someshwar temple.
Is it one of the Jyotirlinga?
No, Trambakeshwar is one of the Jyotirlinga. So Trambakeshwar we will be visiting. Trambakeshwar it's a very beautiful temple, very old, very archaic temple. You can see it's made up of stones. So one of the reasons why our temples have survived after so many thousands of years is because they were made in stones, entirely out of stones. So we are fortunate that such kind of temples have survived in the southern part of India. In the northern part there were a lot of temples, but they have been destroyed by the invaders.
नासिक में कौन से स्थान पे हम लोग देखेंगे कि नासिक में भी बहुत सारे
हाँ, नासिक में बहुत सारे स्थान है. So whatever slides we are showing, those places will definitely go. And because it's a weekend yatra, we have limitation of time. So we will try to cover more places if possible. Yeah. Then Brahmagiri. So anyone who loves to trek, yeah. So if we love to trek, we have an opportunity to trek in Brahmagiri mountains. And then there is a cave which is known as Pandav Leni. So in that cave there are a lot of engravings of Pandavas, there are engravings of Buddhists, there are a lot of engravings of different scriptures. So a lot of sages used to perform austerities over there in the Pandava caves. Right. So these are more or less the highlight of the places. Of course, like going to Yatra doesn't mean that we are going there for sightseeing as such. It means that we are going there to in the shelter of devotees, so that we can replenish our lives, our devotional life, right? So normally people outside, whenever they want a break from their stress, they go somewhere, they go to Goa or somewhere, Manali, here and there. We here as devotees, we go to spiritual places where not only we get a so-called break, but at the same time we get a lot of piety, a lot of punya. We get to know about devotees, we get to know about scriptures. At the same time we get a lot of adventure as well. So it's a complete package, you can say, both a material and a spiritual package, right? So this yatra we will be having on 25th and 26th, which is a weekend. So there is no need to take a leave or a day off for anyone, because it's a weekend, and if somebody has a Saturday working, maybe they can take a leave beforehand, get it approved, because it's a really rare occasion. Such occasions do not come every day. So those who are interested for this yatra, they can contact me, or there are other contact persons as well. So we'll also go to ISKCON Nashik. So there's a beautiful ISKCON temple over there, and we'll have the darshan of deities, we'll have prasadam over there. And there's a Ram Kund over there also, where Lord Ram took bath. So wherever the Lord performs any pastimes, those places have a lot of potency. So when we have bath in such kind of kunds, we get automatically purified. So if you want to register for this, you can contact the four of us. This is my number. This is Acharya Prabhu, Achyut Balram Prabhu, Mahipal Prabhu. So you can contact any four of us. You can contact me also. So I'll give you the details of how much expenditure or whatever is there. Okay. Any questions regarding this yatra?
Or book a bus?
Yeah, most probably we will book a bus. So either it's bus or train, not very finalized, but most probably we will go by bus. Okay. Okay, so I'll be here. If anyone wants more details, you can ask me. Suraj Prabhu, where is the prasadam?
Prasadam is at Vrindavan Hall.
Okay, so now we will have prasadam. Prasadam is in Vrindavan Hall, which is in the first
ऊपर
floor.
लेके जाना है
हाँ.
तो भी इस
Okay.
प्रभु जी ने जो लेक्चर किया है हम लोग को सेकेंड चैप्टर के ऊपर आई थिंक वेरी एडवांटेज फॉर दैट वी हैव टेकन अ गुड सजेशन एंड फॉर दिस यात्रा सो एवरीबडी हैज टू कम फॉर दिस यात्रा इस पर मैं भी आपको एडवाइस करता हूँ कि बहुत आनंद आएगा अगर सब लोग आएंगे तो हमने पहले भी विजिट किया हुआ हूँ मतलब नॉट इन नासिक तो सबको एडवाइस है तो प्रभु ने जो लेक्चर दिया है उसके लिए हम लोग उनका अभिवादन करेंगे एक बार महामंत्र बोलेंगे हरे कृष्णा 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 कृष्णा